As his grace period comes to an end, John sprints through New York. He turns into an alley and spots one of the Bowery King's spies, the Tic Tac Man. The roads are congested as he boards a taxi. Only 20 minutes remain until he is formally excommunicated, so he decides to get out of the car and flee once more, but not before giving the driver a gold coin to ensure that his dog gets to the Continental safely. When he enters the library and requests a book, a concealed compartment is revealed to contain some coins, a cross, a marker, and a photograph of him and his wife, which he kisses. He is surrounded by a big man named Ernest in the bookcases. Ernest doesn't care that John assures him he still has time after all, who is going to notice a few minutes. After a struggle between the two, John breaks Ernest's jaw and snaps his neck with the help of the book. However, it leaves him with a serious stab wound to his shoulder. So, with only 5 minutes left, he makes a visit to the doctor at his home address. The doctor agrees to assist, but must stop sewing in the middle. The grace time has ended. The $14 million reward placed on John is fully active. John shoots and injures the doctor at his request to convince the high table that the doctor followed the excommunicado command after suturing himself up and ingesting some medications. When John leaves, a swarm of killers attack him right away. In a bloody series of confrontations employing various types of antique knives, John kills them after being cornered in an antique arms store. When John exits the building and enters the street, additional killers pursue him. They pursue him into the horse stables, where John kills numerous adversaries by using the horse's tremendous kicks. However, two motorcycle-riding men pursue him as he leaves the stables on horseback. John rides his horse and kills them both. John now has a $15 million bounty on him. When John enters the theater, he is instructed to take his belt off and empty his pockets. He meets with the director and offers her the cross he took out of the library as a token of his request for assistance. They talk about John's past and where he was raised. She leads him to the theater's back, through the jiu-jitsu fighters and ballet dancers in training, and inquires about his needs. He requests a ticket to Casablanca. She consents, severing all ties with him and brandishing the cross as a result. The Continental is approached by a mysterious woman. Karen, the manager, receives a penny from her and signals to Winston that an adjudicator is waiting to speak with him. The adjudicator tells Winston, after requesting to examine Santino's body, that he must resign from his job because he permitted John to survive after spitting blood on Continental property. The adjudicator pays a visit to the Bowery King. He claims to be honoring the excommunicado, telling her this. She then tells him that because he supplied John a gun knowing what it will be used for, he must leave town because nobody is exempt from the high table's laws. He chuckles in her face and says that since he already occupies the throne, he cannot leave. In Casablanca, John arrives. He is attacked by three opponents brandishing knives almost immediately. A man intervenes to stop the fight and tells them both that the management has given John amnesty after one of them is killed in the fight. When the assassin sees John, he tries to attack him but is shot by the man. He takes John to the management of the Continental Hotel in Morocco with him. He looks at pictures of a woman and her daughter before two snarling dogs approach and take guard right beside him. He is shot in the chest by the manager, Sophia, who emerges from the shadows. Despite falling to the ground, his bulletproof gear protects him. She tells him she should kill him, but he shows her a marker they created together years earlier when John saved her daughter. John insists that she take him to see her former supervisor despite her request for him to refuse to deliver the marker. She unwillingly approves. The adjudicator visits a tiny sushi restaurant. Zero, the chef, recognizes her coin and tells her he didn't expect her to arrive so quickly. He already knows who John is and wants to find him. He is given the responsibility by the adjudicator to achieve this as well as hunt anyone who helped him. Sophia arrives at John's house heavily armed. On one of the dog's jackets, she hides a weapon. She doubts John when he says he merely wants to speak with her boss. They arrive at a compound where Sophia's former boss Barada is waiting for them. John wants to make atonement and asks Barada to accompany him to the elder, who sits above the high table. Barada is unsure of his location but is aware that the elder only seeks out people he is interested in. The elder may or may not discover John in the desert if he follows the stars until he is nearly dead. As instructed by the man, Barada wants a gift before they can go. He requests one of Sophia's pets, but she won't give it to him. Instead, he fires it. It has a bulletproof vest on, which Barada is unaware of. John cautions her against getting even, but Sophia shoots Barada, which leads to a confrontation with his employees. Dog bites Barada in the groin. When all of the guards have been dispatched, Sophia shoots Barada in the leg, and the two flee. But more guards are on their way. Her dogs obey her commands as they follow her orders as they fire their way out of the compound and head for the desert. The director is watching a ballet performance by her students in the theater. Her guards are being murdered in the meantime by vicious yet skilled ninjas. 3 men enter the theater and stop the show. Zero and the adjudicator approach from the rear. She informs the director that she is unable to assist John due to her arrangement with the high table. She consents to pledge her allegiance. The adjudicator demands that the punishment be paid in blood. Zero slashes through both of her hands with his sword while still keeping her alive. Sophia and John take a car out into the desert using a finger prick. John marks the marker with blood. The money is paid back to Sophia. Sophia primarily provides her dogs the water. The remainder is swilled in her mouth before she spits a mouthful back into the bottle. Either now or in the future, she says John, he will pass away. After she departs, John enters the desert with the bottle. After a day and a night of walking across sand dunes, he passes out. The ninjas viciously dispatched numerous guards at the Bowery King's complex. The Bowery King is standing on the roof as Zero and the adjudicator approach. He offers to demonstrate fealty to the adjudicator, but she responds that he has already had his chance. In defiance, he sends his pigeon away before Zero cuts him 7 times to make up for the 7 shots he gave John. The Bowery King falls off the roof. A man in a cloak comes upon John in the wilderness. After that, John awakens in a tent. The elder approaches him and tells him that he has never seen a guy so lost. He questions his desire to live. According to John, it's to honor Helen. The elder then offers him 2 options: perish here or return as the boogeyman and remember via death. He will never again be out, but he can end the excommunication. He has to murder Winston in return. John consents and swears allegiance by amputating the finger that holds his wedding ring. He then hands the elder the ring. His oath of fealty is accepted by the elder. He provides him with new clothing and instructs employees to assist him in getting ready for his return trip to New York. When John arrives in New York, he encounters 2 assassins. They are, however, defeated by certain ninjas. John is taken to visit Zero by the ninjas. When John and Zero are about to clash, a group of schoolchildren step in between them. John makes his getaway after snatching a motorcycle and murdering 2 motorcycle ninjas. Zero is pursuing John with his ninja assassins. John defeats multiple opponents with swords while speeding down the motorway, while Zero is pursuing him through the city. They both crash close to the Continental. Zero is unable to kill John because he has a grasp on Continental property. Zero follows Karen as they carry John to a waiting area. He acknowledges how big of a fan he is here. John disagrees with him when he asserts that they are the same. When Winston is prepared to meet him, John reunites with his dog but instructs him to sit and stay. John and Winston have a meeting in a glass room that is only utilized when one needs to see what the other person is hiding under the table. He informs John that there is another option even though he knows John is here to murder him and would prefer to be slain by a friend. He has 2 choices. He may pull the trigger and sell his soul, becoming the boogeyman forever and serving the high table, or he can resist the high table and live to the end as the man his wife loved. The adjudicator shows up to ask Winston to resign. No, he won't. She inquires as to John's intentions. No, he won't. She then deems the Continental to be no longer holy. Now that business can be done there, both men are targets. Soon, some of the best members of the high table will be joining them. Winston, though, decides that it is appropriate given the situation to restore John's rights in their entirety. He'll need firearms. Countless guns. John is led to the armaments room where he is informed that the high table has upgraded their armor and is advised to use a round with a higher caliber. While John, Karen, and a few devoted men go to confront the onslaught of high table thugs, Winston locks himself in the arm safe. Job has to get up close and personal since their armor is harder than anyone anticipated. The adjudicator calls Winston and inquires as to how long he believes he can maintain the defense. Before she can finish, he puts the phone down. Only John and Karen make it through the initial high table wave. Karen shows him an armor-piercing shotgun as they reunite in the weapons safe. When the second wave shows up, John quickly dispatches them by using the shotgun to completely blow off their heads. Once more calling Winston, the adjudicator inquires as to whether a parley may be advantageous. He approves. John enters the glass room from before. When he is ambushed by 2 ninjas and hurled through numerous glass exhibits, he eventually kills them both with their own sword. While Zero taunts him through the glass, he makes his way upstairs but is attacked by 2 of Zero's best men. The Shinobi have the upper hand and have the chance to kill John, but they choose not to do so in order to defend their decision to fight him. They knock John down once more as the action resumes. They talk about him being out of shape because of his recent retirement as he tries to stand back up, using his belt as a weapon. John removes his belt. John is able to deliver a slam on an opponent that shatters the glass floor and sends them all tumbling to the bottom floor after a long third round in which he resorts to groin kicks and ear slaps out of exhaustion. Unlike John, the Shinobi is unable to stand up. Zero is on the top level, so he leaves to find her. John and Zero engage in a drawn-out sword duel. In the end, John prevails by employing Zero's own disappearing trick against him. Zero continues to battle while being severely bleeding until John thrusts a sword directly through his chest. Both men sat side by side, exhausted. Zero compliments the fight and assures John that he will catch up to him. He refuses. Zero slumps to the side, dead. As John walks away, on the roof, Winston and the adjudicator are playing a parlay. Winston is informed by her that the Continental would collapse and that this was only the first wave. Winston responds by saying he could take the Continental back since he is a part of New York and has relationships that extend beyond these borders. As the adjudicator determines that Winston's display of authority was a display of allegiance, John arrives. He is given the opportunity to manage the Continental again, but she cautions him that something needs to be done about John. Winston shoots John multiple times after he concurs. The bullets deflect off of his jacket, but they still push him back until he drops from the roof, bouncing off of various objects that somewhat soften his fall. He still strikes the ground forcefully. The arbitrator is happy. She decides she needs to examine John's body before the adjudicator departs. Winston is informed that the body has vanished as she re-enters the Continental. She explains to him that they don't want John Wick to pursue them. Winston agrees and whispers Baba Yaga. The Tic-Tac man pushes a cart while John's dog trots behind. John, who is shattered and battered, is tipped out of the cart and comes to a stop in front of a makeshift throne. The Bowery King is sitting on the throne and sipping soda. He requests John to raise his hand if he can hear him even if he is severely wounded. John raises his hand with 3 fingers. The Bowery King discusses John's mischief in the guidelines of the high table. He makes the comment that he is pissed off more things being done under the table. John is asked if he's also pissed off by the man. John gradually lifts his brow. He has blood on him and a damaged eye, yet he can still respond. Yeah, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to watch John Wick for a movie explanation.